what we do is clump motivation into just one thing. So we're either motivated or we're not motivated. Now, there's very different elements to motivation, but what I want to teach you guys today is the different forms of motivation and then how you can use this understanding to make sure that you get and achieve and attract exactly what it is that you want. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Now, it's relatively self-explanatory. So intrinsic motivation means it's from the inside out. You are doing things for the pure pleasure of doing them. And this is the most effective form, not the only form. Okay, this is the most effective form of motivation because what they've found with research is that it improves your adherence and consistency if you come from a place where you are intrinsically motivated. Now, on the other side is extrinsic motivation. Now, we're extrinsically motivated when we're doing things because of some outside force or some external reward. Okay? So you can already see that there's a big difference between these types of motivation. And you can see that if you're doing things for the pure pleasure of doing them, then you're more likely to stick to doing that thing for longer and more consistently, and you're going to get the outcome from that. Now I'm going to talk about two other forms of motivation. There's towards motivation and away from motivation. Now, these are types of meta programs. Now, what I mean by meta programs is they're just habits of thought or programs of attention. So it's the process that we use and it's reflexive or automatic. And this is how we sort what we pay attention to. So it's got everything to do with focus because our conscious minds are designed for focus. So, in terms of what we pay attention to, if we've got a towards motivator, then we're wanting to get something, it's towards something that you want. And away from motivator is to go away from something that you don't want. So, let's give you an example. I want to go towards being 70 kilos. I want to go away from illness, sickness, and disease. I want to go away from feeling terrible. I want to go away from feeling embarrassed about my body. I want to go towards confidence, towards feeling energized, towards feeling healthy, towards looking amazing. So now you can already see the differential between towards and away from goals. Now, what happens with away from goals is you'll use the language, I don't want this. So if someone asks you what you want, sometimes it might be difficult to actually tell them what you want, but you might be really good at telling them what you don't want. I don't want this. I don't want that. Now, what that does is that focuses you solely on the negatives. Now, we know that energy flows where attention goes. Okay, so if your attention is on the negatives, then that's where your energy is going to be. And if you're just focused on those negatives, think about what you get. So now is the chance to ask yourself what you do want and set clear goals where you want to move towards something. It doesn't mean moving away from something doesn't work. But the thing is, if you only have an away from goal, then there is no more goal as long as you've avoided that thing that you want to get away from. So for example, if you want to not be poor, then you've kind of achieved your goal if you're just not poor. But it also means that you don't have a lot of motivation to make money. What about, I don't want to be sick? Now, as long as you're not sick, then you're not going to have the motivation to be healthy. So this is the clear difference in terms of an away from motivator and a towards motivator. So this is why we want to set our goals stated in the positive. So what I want you guys to do right now is I want you to think about and ask yourself the question, what is it that I do want? And state that sentence in the positive. And then the next thing is, what is your intrinsic motivator? Are you able to do that for the pure pleasure of doing it? Now, if you're able to, then you will be more likely to be consistent and more likely to achieve that goal. Now, it's not to say that extrinsic motivation and away from motivation don't have their role. Nobody's going to be perfect. We can't all be completely intrinsically motivated. We can't all have just towards goals and towards motivators. But what you want to do is, with your health and fitness, you want to state these in the positive, focus on where you want to get to, not what you want to avoid, and then ask yourself, are you intrinsically motivated by that goal?